oh, we translated this wrong. Sorry. Last 500 years of people, you're all going to hell. You missed this point. You know, if there's an all-powerful, loving God, is this going to happen? And this is a quote that I'm going to give you from the preface to the King James Bible of 1611. It's a little flowery language, but give me a second. We do not deny, nay, we affirm and avow that the very meanest translation of the Bible, set forth by men of our profession, contains the word of God, nay, is the word of God. So what their point was is that it's still there, even if it's wrong. And hang on, one other section from here.
That makes all kind of sense.
All right. Where's my other one here?
So are the people screwed by listening to it if it's wrong? Are the people that have followed it during the period of time where it was wrong, are they just screwed out of luck? Or
that's what people said. That's part of why we had the persecution of the Lollards. That's why William Tyndale, the center guy in this picture, was burned to death.
So like Kyle said, for the last 500 years, guys, we're sorry.
It's so bizarre to think that actual grown people sat around and had this conversation, like, and decided, and their decisions made still impact people today. Like what they did for this book, deciding things, still impacts people every single day in our society now.
I'm open to the idea I could be wrong. Now, if Zod were to say, I don't accept infinities in decision theory, or I don't even maybe he doesn't accept decision theory, I'd be fine with that. But I'm not okay with, I don't think it's a good, if you take the view that decision theory is good and that you should abide by it, and that you can use infinities in decision theory, then the fact that you have a super low credence, it doesn't matter. When you do the math, you're going to have an infinite reward, assuming those two things I mentioned. So I don't, it's like when you say that, you know, like I don't have a good enough probability of it, I'm like, well, it's decision theory compels you. Like this is what rational agents maximize their own preferences. So you should run the equation and then you should decide on which one is more likely using the tiebreaker.
Where do you get your probability from Christianity? People have asked that in the live chat, and I'm kind of curious myself. What number do you ascribe to Christianity, and where do you get that particular value from?
Yeah, I get it. Maybe like I'd say it's like an 89%, something like that. And then so this is where it's like difficult to understand. For me personally, it's difficult. I haven't thought through these issues to the fullest extent of like, well, the argument from contingency doesn't give me Christianity any more than it gives me Islam. So in what way does that like make me believe more toward Christianity? I would say, I guess in the way at least that it gives me a higher probability that the resurrection is possible. So the historical data for the resurrection, though, is you could say, discerning reason why I pick one form of theism rather than another. But
so did I overhear you say you have about 89% confidence in Christianity being true based on evidence?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
That's
yeah,
that turns probability, by the way.
To me, that turns that into an entirely different type of conversation. Like, I'm not a mathematician. I can't really argue the multiplying small odds by infinity. I can say though that pretty confidently that most people or no people really make decisions that way when it comes to infinitely small possibility propositions.
First of all, I'm gonna go with what Steve just said. Steve said it's ballsy. The only reason it's ballsy, and this is my opinion of it. First of all, let's get this straight. I don't know if y'all follow Steve Harvey, been following his career. He was a comedian. He made it. You don't have to have a high.
Back in the 90s.
Yeah, you don't have to have a high IQ to be a comedian. First of all, let's get that straight.
Hey, now.
Only reason he's in right, exactly. Only reason he's in the spotlight because he's Steve Harvey. He's a Family Feud guy, but he's an idiot. But back to what Steve said. Steve said it's ballsy, and I think the only reason it's ballsy because he don't see enough black atheists. He probably don't even see enough white atheists. So to him, the atheists or agnostics are such a small group of people he don't run into. He's probably just hearing about it because we know the YouTube community is getting out there. And this is why I say we got to get back to normalize. We have to normalize atheism. We have to push back these ignorant, bad ideas. I wish I could get this idiot on the show somewhere and just embarrass him all these logical fallacies he made.
But nobody really knows what's happening like here right now. Nobody knows what's happening inside of me as I'm doing, or what the whole thing, what the context is for me. The reason why I chose to like be a little bit more friendly with people on that far on the right is because I knew that there were people who were somewhat entertaining the fact that maybe this is the right path for them. The path that, like, you know, they're seeing these stupid blog pieces about how, you know, just white people in general, they're seeing all this like garbage about, you know, toxic masculinity, which is, listen, Lacey's explained toxic masculinity to me, and I understand it. However, it's the way it's presented, it makes people feel shitty about themselves, right? So my goal was to bridge this gap between these people who are entertaining this possible ideology and seeing something as an alternative, being like, oh shit, wait a minute, this guy's brown and he's totally just like me. Whatever, like, why am I doing this? And also assuring them that I'm not an outlier. That was something that would really, really annoy the shit on me when I'd hear that. And they would always use that to discredit me, by the way. And a lot of people do. You're an outlier, but you're different. You're just different. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm a fucking average guy. Like, I'm really not a cut above the rest. Saying I'm an outlier for like my ethnic background is like a really, really weird thing to say. It's like saying that everything else is shit. You are the one thing that is okay. It's like, no, I'm fucking average. There's so many people like me. So the idea is that they are drawn into that. So it was my way of just finding those people who are, because I know that every entertainer on this platform has an audience, and every audience they have is diverse. And it's like, there's so many people from different points. You can't just say that the only people watching Baked Alaska were just people that are alt-righters. No, it's a bunch of people watching him. There are people.
Sure, Bunty.
So I'm just saying.
No. I understand, and I think that your intention, you're well intentioned, and I'm not even saying that maybe there aren't some people who got what you wanted from it.
No, dude, I get messages all the time. I play video games. There's one kid who's like, I was entertaining alt-right stuff before I started. There was all sorts of content that I was exposed to. This is a kid that told me this. You know, there's people who have DM'd me, who said like this. It's very easy to fall into this path when you're feeling beaten down about something. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Listen, it's all good. These are things that have happened. People have been it's it's so cool to see that there's some people who have entertained more liberal ideologies because of my attitude. You know, like it's not always work towards the right. There's people who I feel who met me were probably a little bit more conservative and then saw what I was doing and saw everything, like saw me on this platform just doing whatever I was doing, which isn't that much, by the way. I'm literally just having conversations, recording videos, and just reacting to things.
And it's true that in the 1340s, a major pandemic of bubonic plague hit Europe and killed somewhere around about half the population of Europe, possibly more. In some places, it was far more. In other places, it literally wiped out whole towns. It was the biggest and worst epidemic, one of the biggest in the world, and certainly the biggest to hit Europe before the influenza epidemic of 1918. So people associate the medieval period with plague. The point is, the reason the plague of the 1340s was so deadly was that plague hadn't hit medieval Europe for hundreds of years. Remember, I mentioned that population had dropped after the fall of the Roman Empire because of a major plague in the 6th century. That was the last time a major epidemic had hit Europe. So the medieval period was not ready for plague. There was no immunity because it hadn't been touched by plague for centuries. And then when it hit in the 1340s, it hit hard. Then it revisited over and over and over again. There was another epidemic in the 1360s. It was called the young dying because most of the people who died were people in their 20s and teens because they'd been born since the first visitation. And then it kept popping up again and again right into the 17th century.
Manataya nonoya, menenitea, utananaya, times, of refreshing, times of refreshing, times of refreshing, times of refreshing, times, taya, times, taya.
I thought he was doing a commercial for Tums because look at the guy. That guy's got acid reflux all the time.
Watch new episodes of NonSequitur at 8 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Friday. Here's what's coming up this week.